Hi, and welcome to the X22 Report Spotlight. Today we have a returning guest, Bob Kudla. Bob is the creator and owner of TradeGeniusAcademy.com, and I am very happy to have Bob back on the X22 Report Spotlight. Bob, welcome back to the Spotlight.
Hey, Dave, thanks for having me. Happy New Year.
Hey, Happy New Year, and thanks for coming on once again because a lot of things are happening now in the economy around the world. And we could see that the UK, like Starmer, went down to China talking about the trade deal. Canada is making trade deals with China with their EVs. And we're starting to see, all this happen right now. Why do you think this is happening? And why do you think they're looking towards China?
Because Canada is part of the monarchy of the United Kingdom, and the United Kingdom is the headquarters of Beelzebub, or other known as the New World Order, and they're just pissed that Trump is blowing it up in their face. So, you got Australia and New Zealand with their censorship rules, right? And UK with their censorship rules, and now they send Canada off to cut a deal with China. Basically they're trying to box the U.S. in, and I think China's trying to save face with the drubbing they just took in South America. But Trump just simply said, "Ain't no way, buddy." And we could shut the Canadian economy down in 90 days if
Yeah.
if push came to shove. With Greenland too, is that, well, this may affect our strategic relationship in the Arctic with the United States. And like Trump's like, um, Alberta, welcome to the United States.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you would think that since these are our allies, the allies would want to work with the US and, you know, iron out the trade between the US and Canada, the US and the UK. Instead, they're running to China.
Because I think everything's getting exposed now, Dave. Who we thought were our allies were really always trying to manipulate us into submission, right? And they've been relatively successful. Look, they dragged us into two world wars, right? And they probably dragged us into the Middle East conflicts too. And so, we have willing participants here that are ready to, be the cheerleader for that. But if you think about it, oil, we have all the oil we need right here. Why do we care about what's happening with Middle East oil other than Europeans don't have any oil, right?
Hmm.
And so I think we were dragged into those wars. We were dragged into the royalty wars of World War One, and then World War Two was just really an extension, with a 20-year gap of World War One, right? So I just think now the fangs are out. I think the United Kingdom has been exposed, and look, especially with Trump, if you think about it, MI6 was fervently trying to eliminate Trump from being president, because he wasn't going to play ball. And now, Trump is unhinged right now. He doesn't have to worry about being reelected, and so he's gonna tear that regime apart. And I always said, the Europeans have always taken advantage of us, always, and it's so annoying to me. And now finally, the band-aid's getting tore off. And Canada, same way. Canada, it really is two Canadas. Well, actually, three Canadas if you think about it. You have French Canada,
Hmm.
you have the Eastern Canada, and then you have the West. And so I wouldn't be surprised in the next 3 to 5 years, Western Canada, I mean, all the way up to the Yukon, and probably even the native the first generation up there will all come inside the United States orbit, and Canada will just be a shell of itself.
As we look at the UK and Canada, I mean, the EU right now, they're also making a trade deal with India, saying, "Oh yeah, we're not going to buy the Russian fuel anymore," even though that India is getting the Russian fuel and they're shipping it over to the EU. So that makes no sense whatsoever in what they're doing out there.
Yeah, the funny thing about it though is that it's we're still all that matters.
Hmm.
If you ever traded with India before, I was in the software business for 25 years. They're a difficult bunch, okay? And so, what you see in the headlines versus what's going to happen behind the scenes. India and Europe, are they're good for each other because they both play the same games. Okay, so a lot of handshakes and smiles up front, and then underneath the surface is just a Byzantine mountain of trails to try to get your deal done. Okay, and there'll be always constant renegotiations. So good luck to them.
Yeah.
Okay, and look, we're carving out the Americas for ourselves. And look, we'll get Canada back in line, and Mexico will submit. But rest of South America went from being 2 years ago a socialist paradise to now Brazil's the only one left that's socialist.
Yeah.
And pretty amazing turnaround. So yeah, so I think that's what it is. I think that the gloves are off now, Dave. Now it becomes real, and Trump knows Europe is nothing. They have nothing. Germany would be the one thing that I always told people what combination would scare me the most as an American is if Russia and Germany decided to bury the hatchet and form a very strong alliance. German engineer with Russian resources, scary combo. And but Germany, the left destroyed Germany's ability to manufacture, and everybody else is a nothing burger. Okay, what do you call it? Disneyland for the United States.
Yeah, I mean, when I look at this and I look at Germany and look at how they went down the Green New scam, and they got rid of the nuclear power plants, they got rid of the coal fire plants, and they went to wind, and they basically destroyed their energy production and the manufacturing because of the energy production. It looks like the UK, Canada, the EU. It looks like, hey, we just saw what Germany did. Let's do the same exact thing, and I feel like that's where they're headed.
It's control.
Yeah,
That's all it is.
yeah.
Look, California, we're still fighting that crap here.
No, yeah,
And
California, they're following the same template, and look what's happening out there. I mean, I just saw something where, Walmart now is leaving California. I mean, you're out in
I
California,
saw
you're
that
seeing it
two
firsthand.
hundred fifty. I think it said 250 stores are going to close.
Yeah, that's
So
great.
just that's amazing. And here's a wild thing. Did you see Holly Berry? Now you saw Nicki Minaj has been going after Newsom, but Holly Berry just she did a one sentence dissection of Newsom. She goes, I wouldn't be voting for Governor Newsom as president. Just saying.
Wow, yeah. Well, I'm sure everyone is
So
turning on him now because he's destroying the entire state. And, those people that are living there, like
it's
yourself,
amazing.
if taxes keep going up and the entire state is imploding on itself and businesses are leaving, it's not going to get better. It's going to get a lot worse. And I think people are starting to wake up to that now. That's what I'm saying.
Oh yeah, for sure. People, things aren't don't matter to people till they matter to people. Now, look, we're just talking in our room this morning is that they're starting to open up the Asian grocery stores in Arizona because of what's all the fab plants that are moving in there, and all that gray matter is leaving California. And it's going to be going to Arizona and
Yeah.
Texas, and so we're just going to be a mess here unless we change. Now the good news in the primaries, we have two Republicans that are polling really well. So maybe people will just start coming out of their collective coma here and get rid of this guy.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, here except for California and a lot of the blue states, I mean, the rest of the country, you see things starting to improve and people are starting to realize it. But what's interesting is that the dollar is weakening, and it looks like Trump, he's not too concerned about that. I mean, is this going to help the U.S. and what he's trying to do here? I shouldn't even call it the dollar. It's actually a Federal Reserve note.
Yeah, I think I'm looking here while we're talking. The dollar the dollar stabilized since he said that, which we laughed was pretty funny. Everybody tried to short it after he was like dovish, and the dollar popped. I think we're going to get a reversal higher in the dollar. I think people don't need to worry about the dollar at all. We're not losing reserve status. Nothing's going to replace it. All right. And our closest competitor might be suffering, in a potential civil war in China. So um, all the competitors now are in turmoil.
Yeah, I agree with that. And you know what's very interesting is while all this turmoil is going on around the world, what do we see happening? Well, we see gold and silver, they're making incredible moves. Bitcoin, not so much. It's hovering around 90,000. Well, why do you think that is?
Well, because everybody was chasing gold and silver. But since you sent me the Zoom link, and since we started,
Hmm.
Bitcoin dropped 4,000. Gold and silver went from all-time highs to plunging. So,
Everything started to
I know,
reverse.
I know. We have to do that. We have to do this thing every hour just to stay on top of everything.
That is
I
so
just think we're
true.
really not now in a state of flux. The I think a lot of attention now is, look, the Momo degens love to chase what's moving,
Hmm.
and so Bitcoin's been kind of put on the side, and now they're chasing gold and silver like crazy. And you know what's happening? Energy is going to start moving too. Gold, oil's still up today too. When I woke up this morning, gold was at 5,500. Silver was at, like, I think 118 or some crazy number,
Hmm.
and oil was up $4. and
Yeah.
and after the first hour, gold was down, oil was cut in half, and silver was down, and then Bitcoin dropped 4 grand. So I think there's just a lot of moving parts now with a lot of people trading options, and the market's a bit overvalued right now. So I think gold. I mean, Bitcoin will find its floor here once the gold and silver these spikes settle down.
I think we've seen this before. I mean, I remember when maybe it was a couple months ago, we were talking about gold and silver, and it was, around 4,000, and it dropped then too, but it made new highs. And I think it went way above what I even expected in a very short period of time, where it went over $5,000 an ounce. And same thing with silver. I think we were talking, it was like 80, 90, and then, we're here above, way above 100. And yes, I do believe that there'll be ups and downs, and people are taking profit and going back and forth, just like Bitcoin. But I think the trajectory, when we start to look at this and what's going on around the world, I think it's going to continue to move up. I mean, I don't know if you're seeing the same thing, but that's my personal opinion.
No, absolutely. Look, people asking me, "What do you do with your gold, silver?" I own the miners. I don't own the physical. And I said, "They're in my IRA. I'm not touching them." They're. I still see $10,000 gold easily possibility. That's only a double from here, Dave.
Yeah.
And I can see silver at $200 minimum. Okay, oil's going to keep rising. Uranium's going to keep rising. Copper's going to keep rising. The rare earths had a bit of a setback only because they can't guarantee price floors, but rare earths are going to keep moving higher. And so, I just tell people, just get a basket of these names. Oh, and also fertilizer stocks. You'll do well over time if you don't watch the news and you just own a basket of those names. You're going to be just fine. And forget all the recession talk. Okay, it's going to be growth is going to continue to move. You got to remember, a lot of people that quote unquote losing their jobs are retiring. There's not going to be enough workers in the United States to fill the jobs, so you're gonna see a strong labor component in the next 3 to 5 years, and then everybody else that's retired are going to be sitting on and consuming their retirement fund. So I think we're just going to just keep on keeping on. And if Trump does what I think he's going to do, if he succeeded with onshoring,
Mm.
is that I wouldn't be surprised with his boast of he said a 25% GDP growth, but I could see 5 or 6% a year, no problem.
Wow. So since we're going through this, it seems like a transition type of period, and gold, is going to be moving up and down. Bitcoin is going to be moving up and down. Oil, all the different assets are going to be, in flux, I think, right now. Um, you have a trading system. You tell people, look, this is what you need to look at. Do you have any specials or anything this month?
Yeah, like we always have for your listeners. We're running two specials. One is if you want it to be just in the chat room and get our trade signals and get access to our algorithm, or if you want to be in the voice room, which we recommend because you get to talk to us all day and ask questions, and I'm there most of the day, and that way you can get your questions answered, and we talk about all these things that you and I are talking about right now. Just an informed investor is a successful one. And the other thing, Dave, too, we just upgraded our algorithm again, and we added some additional special features that are just we're just knocking it out of the park. I sent over to you one of our customers went ahead and tracked the trades for the last 2 years. If you took every one of the trades that I put out officially, and you honored the stops and targets that I put out in there, we doubled the growth of the S&P 500, the Nasdaq, and the small caps. And I sent that to you so you could see it. It actually goes day by day. People can see how well we do, and so we know our system works, and I think we give pretty good insight on top of it. Look, one reason why we're doing so well is that we pivoted to these commodities last year. You know, I talk every month. You know that, and we pivoted over to commodities and out of tech, and we've been well rewarded in that environment. Also, I told people don't get out of energy with this recession talk. It's going to continue to move higher. We've been well rewarded on that. My personal portfolio, I'm as much in January as I was in for the first 6 months of all last year. So these are opportunities where you can make a lot of money in these periods of transition if you know where the hockey puck's going, and then you apply the discipline that our algorithm does. So yeah, come join us. TradeLikeAGenius.com. Tell us that Dave sent you, and I think you really like what we do. What we charge for service is nothing compared to we get people that do the same stuff as me charge 5 to 10 times as much. I don't need to. I think you really like it. I like the people I trade with, and we're all like-minded people, so it makes it kind of fun. Have people to trade with and also do good trades at the same time.
Great. I'll put all the links at the bottom of the video. Thank you for that. Now, the other thing that Trump is doing now, he's going to be giving the children money, $1,000. And it looks like there are companies like Bank of America, Steak and Shake. They're all now going to give their employees and match what Trump is doing. How is this going to change the future for the next generation?
It was a brilliant move. Whoever gave him that idea, it's going to bring every child in America into an ownership mindset instead of just being a dependency mindset. They said if you didn't touch it and you contributed the same amount every year, they said you could be 18 years old and have $1 million in those 401ks. So um, it's a really great idea, really smart idea. Now every kid in America is rooting for America,
Yeah.
right? And what do you need the government for? I have a 401k. I saw the same thing with my friend group when we started trading these high yield, dividend plays. These kids, instead of spending their money, were investing more money into the stock market because they saw how fast it could grow. And that's what you want. You want everybody every day, watching that stock market, watching the economic information, and not buying off on the fear and greed moaners on the left, because they know intuitively, hey, every time those people open their mouth, my portfolio goes down. And so Trump just bought himself a whole generation of people that will be supporting those kind of policies. I think it was brilliant.
I think it's going to change the future of this country and also help the next generation and the generation after that because now they're going to have wealth behind them. And it's going to be very,
Yeah.
very different.
Look, and the stock market's the best way to generate wealth. I mean, people argue Bitcoin is, but once Bitcoin has 80 years behind it, then you can make the same claim. But 11.8% a year over the last 100 years, I'd take that.
Yeah. And now the other thing that we see is that the Federal Reserve, they decided to hold the rates steady, even though we're seeing inflation go down. We're seeing a lot of manufacturers come back to the country, jobs are being created. And we know that Powell's going to be replaced in May. So, what do you think the strategy of the Fed is right now, where they're keeping the rates steady? I mean, compared to Biden, they decided to lower the rates when the economy looked absolutely awful compared to Trump's
Yeah.
economy.
Yeah, look, this whole notion that the Federal Reserve is politically independent is a joke. They did this to George Bush Sr. too. They raised rates on him, got him out of office. They did everything they could to help Biden remain in office, and now they're doing everything they can. They did this to Trump last time too.
Yeah.
They're doing everything they can to stymie Trump's policies too. Look, the Federal Reserve is owned by the European elites, right? So that's all I'll say on that. They don't. They're trying to do everything they can to keep the Trump train from showing the world that there's a different and a better way to do things. Look, Trump knows money. He knows leverage. He knows debt, and these guys are a joke. My thing when he was talking yesterday about, we take our job seriously. I'm like, if you took your job seriously, you could just say no more lending after 2% money supply growth, right? That's your target. You control the target. That's the thing that pisses me off the most. You control the target. You can stop lending at 2% money supply growth. Period.
Mm.
They don't do that. They rather just put, oh, there's nothing we can do about it. We're going to raise rates. So what they do is instead of stopping the money supply, they raise rates on people so that people that have the wealth can continue to get wealthier, versus stop the speculators, right? And just remember, Trump fancies himself to be the reincarnation of Andrew Jackson. So maybe we'll have the same success. Andrew Jackson almost got killed too, I think.
Yeah, he
So
did. They took a
a lot
shot
of
at him.
parallels. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, as we approach May, I think this is the time where he can replace Powell. I mean, he's letting everyone know that he's going to drop the interest rates with the person that he's going to put into place. I mean, by dropping
Yeah.
the rate, I mean, how much do you think he's going to drop it by? 2 points, 3 points, 4 points?
It all depends. He has to get control of the board.
Yeah.
So if he gets control of the board, he'll drop. We'll be zero bound on the interest rates in a year.
And
If he doesn't get control of the board, it'll be more of a slow leak.
so if he does get control, I mean, he lowers the rates to zero. How will that help the economy? I mean, what will the economy look like?
Well, I mean, people they'll be borrowing money like there's no tomorrow to fund whatever ideas they have. I mean, if you think about the stock market, you'll have margin rates of 3%. People will be speculating in the stock market like there's no tomorrow. Interest rates on home loans will collapse, and you'll have people doing a lot of activity in the home market. So it'll be freeing up. Remember, a lot of people aren't selling their homes because they they'll pay more to move, right?
Yeah.
So this will change that equation, and then just generally, interest rates, on credit cards. I know he's trying to do a play there with executive order, or trying to do legislation there, that the banks will be able to lower those interest rates and still make a spread that they need to be able to offer credit to everybody. So I think it's a good guy along. Look, I told people last year that we're going to have negative prints in inflation in 2026. Canada already did, and we're heading the same direction. So I wouldn't be surprised in the next 3 months that we don't have a negative print on a CPI or a PPI.
It's very interesting because, I mean, think about all the things that he's doing in the year that we have the midterm. So if he's able to bring down the rates, give everyone a dividend, I think the one big beautiful bill, I think the refunds that people are going to get are going to be absolutely incredible. I think people are going to be very surprised. I mean, all of this, and also with the credit cards, bringing it down to whatever, a 10% cap or whatever it's going to be. By doing all of this, I think people are going to be pretty happy going into the midterms. I mean, I don't know if this was his plan, but it looks like it's part of his plan to get people happy with the economy and feeling good, especially if the rates come down. You can buy an automobile, you can buy a house. It's much cheaper. You have much more buying power.
Yeah, I think it definitely is part of it. Look, Trump's a populist, right? He wants the people to be happy, and he understands that we have to bulge out the middle class to have a successful country, and that's his focus. I Look, he's given the left no room to offer anything to anybody. Look, what's the only thing they have on offer is Trump, ICE, and Homeland Security are
Yeah.
treating illegals unfairly. I mean, you literally want to go into an election where most of the people want the illegals gone and tell people that that's your plan.
Hmm.
Governor Newsom and Hakeem Jeffries saying we didn't throw enough people in jail last time. I mean, that's their plan. And so I think what Trump's doing, getting these illegals out. You saw what happened yesterday too. What, 70 truckloads or whatever of or seven hundred ballot boxes from Fulton County
Oh yeah.
have been shipped to it shipped to Quantico for forensic review.
Hmm.
So they're going after look the ballot box. This Venezuela thing, I guess, that has some election secrecy there too, and that affects not just the United States. I understand, you know, Korea and Romania and another country were also subject to the same kind of electioneering fraud. So that's what Trump's doing, and Minnesota blew up. They makes Minnesota sound like it's like the whole country's burning. When I read the stuff on X from foreign countries, people, I'm looking, I'm like, dude, you're talking about a city of 2 million people, and which is already fairly liberal. That's the only place. It went into Memphis, and the people welcomed them with open arms. Went to New Orleans, welcome. Those are Democrat strongholds.
Yeah, yeah,
The only reason why this wasn't is because you're trying to hide the fraud.
yeah.
And
That's exactly right.
I'm sure you talked about it probably on other shows. They said maybe 80% of our entire United States debt was defrauded from the American people.
Oh, I believe
And
that
it's probably
100%.
shipped overseas.
Yeah,
That's the other thing too. That's why the New World is freaking out. We've just been sending our wealth over to them for decades, and that stops.
I think in the end, what we're going to find out is that all this debt they've been talking about, it's not really our debt. It was most of it was probably done via fraud. And when Trump says, I'll pay back the debt, I don't think he's talking about the 37 trillion. I think he's saying, no, no, we're going to pay back the debt that we actually used in this country. The rest, that's all criminal activity. The people are not responsible for that.
Yeah, he may just go to these countries like the United Kingdom, and you know what? Your bonds are null and void. You stole that from me.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
agree with that 100%. I think everything's about to change now. And it's going to be a
it's
whole,
wild. I mean, look, strap in. I mean, more. What they say? Sometimes you get decades or centuries in one week. I think we're at that point.
I agree with that 100%. Hey, Bob, thank you very much for being on the X22 Report Spotlight. Once again, if they want to sign up to your trading system, where should they go?
TradeLikeAgenius.com or TradeGenius.co. Take advantage of the deal. We charge quarterly, so we make it very affordable. And like I said, we have two levels, and both levels you get the trade signals, you get access to the algorithm, and then the upper level you get access to myself and Phil, and you can ask us any questions that you want, and but we'll only answer stock questions from you. So anyway, have a good one. Thanks for letting me pitch today, Dave, and I look forward to talking to you next month.
Great. I'll put all the links at the bottom of the video. Once again, Bob, thank you very much for being on the Spotlight. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.